Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, Ty. Ty, do you have the start times for the broadcast? It's tomorrow's show, is it? Or
Tomorrow is cross country.
what time are you going on air for cross country tomorrow?
I will double check and get back to you. Can you turn your mic on, Paul? I think the switch on the cable is off.
Hello?
That's much better.
Yeah, okay, so if you I'll just remind people the time to tune in for their cross country and their show jumping. You give me the times.
I think that's on the FEI there at the moment.
Tomorrow we are on at 2:40.
2:40 BST tomorrow, and for show jumping
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock BST on Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'll give that out.
Perfect. Thanks. So we're 2 minutes from broadcast. We've
Okay.
got, a minute of an opener, 30 seconds of Michelle's piece to camera, then a 5-minute Houghton Hall review, and then we come to you, and I've about a minute of the kind of the top 3 tests from yesterday, just about 20 seconds from each test.
Okay.
Just to talk through. Let me just see who comes up first. So you'll have Tim Price. Yeah, they're in reverse order. Tim, Flora, and Trace.
Okay.
And just to mention that the scores they're on, maybe not the placings, but
She is higher marked.
Yeah, she
A very good morning and welcome to County Waterford in Ireland, where the weather has taken a turn for the better ahead of Day 2 Dressage FEI Eventing Nations Cup. Our ground jury of Sue Baxter, Jonah Hearn and Andrew Benny saw a total of 49 tests yesterday, with Sweden coming out on top of the team leaderboards. Sweden are also leading the individual standings with Therese Wiklund. In a few moments we'll take a look at Day 2 of Dressage, but first let's take a look back at the opening leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup in Houghton Hall.
The opening leg came from the Saracen Horse Speed Houghton International Horse Trials in the United Kingdom, and it proved to be the perfect setting for the start of the 2019 campaign, with 9 teams going head-to-head for the all-important points in this Olympic qualifying year. Christoph Wahler and Kajetan S finished on an impressive 24.8, putting Germany into the lead after day 1 ahead of Sweden. Ingrid Klimke sewed up the dressage for Germany with the best overall mark of the event, 23.2, giving them a team total of 73. With the dressage phase completed, Germany led the opening leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup at Houghton Hall. Sweden in second, Switzerland third, but Italy and Spain were struggling to keep up with the top 7. The legendary Ingrid Klimke, who led after dressage, made 2 uncharacteristic mistakes. Her interim result of 31.2 became Germany's drop score. Britain's last rider, Piggy French and Cooley Monsoon, posted the 4th clear round for the team. They had now closed the gap on the leaders. Germany remained at the top of the table after show jumping, but their lead was narrowed to 3.4 penalties ahead of Sweden, and Great Britain were just 2 penalties adrift of the podium. The next phase was the cross-country on the final day. So the scene was set for a spectacular finish, the opening leg of the series. The weather had changed from the glorious sunshine to a much cooler, cloudy day, with intermittent heavy showers to liven things up. Sweden's trailblazer, Ludvig Skammerstad, riding Stinne, rode a clean round inside the time and showed his teammates just how to ride the water combination. Sweden were piling up the pressure on the Germans. Bobby Upton and Fernhill Rockstar completed her first Nations Cup with a faultless round, but just over that optimum time. Not a bad start to a senior team career.
I took my time in some places to make sure I was fault-free, but yeah, he was really good, so I'm really pleased to secure the score for the team.
European champion Ingrid Klimke, who had dropped into the potential discard score position after a couple of mistakes in the previous day's show jumping, recovered her form in the finale, not before nearly coming unstuck at the water with her debut 4-star horse, Asher P, as Germany earned a winning total that couldn't be beaten.
It was her first time going 4-star, so a little bit I took my time for preparation points, but she was wonderful, really fantastic, and it was great to ride, and the variety of fences I really enjoyed, and then you have a nice fluent one, another combination, so I think the horses really learned a lot.
Germany earning a 5th consecutive win in the opening leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup at Houghton Hall, after reviving their flagging lead over Sweden in the concluding cross-country. Individual winner Christoph Wahler, Jerome Rabin and Ingrid Klimke jointly scored a total of 90.6, with Felix Etzel being the discard score in the end.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very welcome to the 4th leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup from Camphire near Capquin in County Waterford. I'm Paul Nolan, joined today by Irish international rider Michelle Kenny for the second day of dressage. the Semilese Camphire International Horse Trials in the CCIO 4-star short format Nations Cup class, sponsored by our presenting sponsor, Caravilla Howe. Sweden to the fore here yesterday, as Michelle was referencing earlier in her introduction, and we have the fourth line riders in the team competition coming up today. Fantastic shots from our production crew across the River Blackwater to the wonderful Wilkes and Brown family farms here. Camphire house there just beside the River Blackwater, and you can see the dressage arenas where the centre dressage arena where the Nations Cup action will conclude in the dressage phase this morning. And of course we will have cross-country action for you tomorrow, and we will have the show jumping on Sunday, all here on FEI television. Don't miss it. It's going to be a very exciting competition. Coming into Camphire after 3 legs of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup, Sweden leading the way on 215 points, with Italy on 210 in second place at the moment. In joint third we have Switzerland, Netherlands and Germany, all on 200 points. But of course it's 7 legs, it goes all the way to Buccalo, and the top nation will secure a qualifying slot for the Tokyo Olympics. And of the 8 teams here at Camphire, 3 of them are already qualified for the Olympics: Great Britain, Ireland and New Zealand, but seeking one of those Olympic qualification slots: Belgium, Italy, the Netherlands, Sweden and Switzerland. The largest ever entry in a FEI Nations Cup in Ireland. And our ground jury this morning, the president is Sue Baxter at sea. Sue, former president of the European Eventing Championships ground jury at Blair Castle. At H we have an experienced judge from Ireland, Jonah Hearn, and at B, Olympian Andrew Benny, member of the bronze medal winning team for New Zealand at the Seoul Olympics. Our first competitor is Enda O'Gorman. He goes with the 16-year-old Talon for Ireland, a combination that we saw at Kililkey near Mallow in County Cork in the CCI 4-star short format, and also competed here at Camphire in the CIC 3-star last year. So our first competitor this morning is Enda O'Gorman and Talon for Ireland. Well, good morning, Michelle. It's sun is shining here today now, so it's very nice vista compared to what we saw yesterday morning.
Good morning, Paul. Yes, it's a major difference today, which will be a lot more on the rider side, and it will be exciting competition with the last riders of the teams coming out again.
So we saw quite a few issues in the tests yesterday. This counter movement in the serpentine, which has a separate set of marks just for the counter alone, that was one of them. That's very, very important, and it's become very competitive. The last section of dressage yesterday afternoon here was very competitive for the third line riders.
Yes, we had some serious hot competition in the last 8 riders in. We've seen the dressage scores getting lower and lower, and the riders really starting to give it all, fighting for those vital team standings.
So it's great to see individual riders getting the opportunity from Ireland to compete in a big class like this, going up a grade as we said yesterday. And individually here from County Cork, it's Enda O'Gorman.
And it's just coming up to the extended trot. These were some of the movements that were finding a little bit tricky yesterday, the half pirouettes and keeping the horses relaxed going into the walk, into the extended walk. It's not so easy with these fit eventers.
sometimes it's the case of the luck of the draw. Enda having the opportunity to compete in the sunshine, just a gentle breeze coming across the arena now. Whereas if you had been drawn yesterday, you were dealing with
Yeah, it has to help.
tough conditions.
This weather has to help, especially some of the hotter horses that just get a little bit buzzy with the wind and it's never nice doing dressage in the rain anyway. So this was a movement yesterday that came up that was a little bit tricky, from the half pirouette back into walk and transition on the centre line up into collected canter. Can come up very, very quickly.
And just coming down the long side before he went into that movement, we saw one or two horses had a spook and a stare at that side of the arena, but this horse was okay. He didn't see anything at all.
He had a spook at the other end.
Yes, after going past the end that we were watching for. And the accuracy of the flying change in terms of where you execute the flying change was an issue yesterday. Quite a few people missed out where they needed to execute that flying change.
So some horses were anticipating and they were changing before the centre line, and then we had others that were just a little bit late with their change. I think Enda has a little error of course.
Mistake that the others made yesterday.
No, different. Yep. We had a few errors in the walk yesterday. The riders went straight into the extended walk as opposed to starting in the medium walk into the half pirouette. But this time we have an issue in the canter.
I think he's the first one to encounter that difficulty.
Yep.
That completes the test for Kevin McNabb for Australia with Valley Castle Whisper. Well, slight breakdown at Valley Castle Arena. And we'll be back with the action there.
So the judges are looking for the horse to be accurate to the rider's aids on the flying change. And to make sure they keep the straightness and the fluency in the canter.
Completing his test there, an individual rider for Ireland, Enda O'Gorman and Talon. So the current standings after the conclusion of the dressage yesterday, in the team standings here, the fourth leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup, coming from the semis, Camphire International Horse Trials. Leading the way, Sweden on 89.6 penalties. Great Britain in second on 91.7 penalties. The Italian team in third on 94.6. The Dutch in fourth place on 103.6 penalties. Team Belgium in fifth on 104 penalties. Ireland in sixth on 104, and Switzerland in 7th on 120.2. We only had two of the New Zealand riders, but they went particularly well. So we will be seeing the final riders today in the second session of dressage for the team competition. And this will have a big influence in terms of gets the 100 points on offer for the winning team here at the fourth leg of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup as they head out to cross-country action.
Well, next in the four-star arena, we welcome from Great Britain, Richard Caney.
So our second competitor this morning, an individual rider for Great Britain. This is 20-year-old Richard Coney. He goes with the 9-year-old Mermis or Diamonds. This is a combination we saw competing in Bramham in the CCI 4-star short format. Also competed as an individual in the Nations Cup class at Houghton Hall, and was out at Belton in the CCI 3-star short format. Richard, a young rider who was 7th at the 2019 European Young Riders Championships recently, and a member of the gold medal winning team, along with Bobby Upton, Felicity Collins and Phoebe Locke. So for Great Britain, this is Richard Coney and Mermis or Diamonds.
I think this horse was also a former ride of world champion Ross Cantor a few seasons ago.
And Richard, one of a number of young riders that we've seen in this class. Again, a great opportunity for young riders.
Yes, it sure is. And they also have the team GB all over here, all the trainers and squads with the Nations Cup, so I'm sure they're getting a little bit of advice and help from them, which is a great opportunity also. It's good for the selectors and to see them in this high class field.
Particularly as they've had such strength and depth, pony level, junior level, young rider levels consistently for so many years.
Yep, they're consistent medal winners. Richard's just shown a lovely fluent half pass and had a very good rhythm, and the change over into the second half pass was really smooth. This horse is showing a really smooth, even rhythm throughout his movement. It looks to be very relaxed. So again, the judges going into the half pirouettes are looking for the horse to keep moving, not to get stuck. They will look for a change in the horse's frame from the medium walk into the extended walk. To look for the horse to lengthen its neck, stretch down, keeping in contact with the rider and looking for an overtrack from behind. So there, Richard, the horse is still possibly a little green in the change, but he done a nice job to keep him straight on the centre line. Now he opens up for an extended canter. The judges are looking for from the extended back into the collected canters. See the horse isn't resistant to the rider and comes back into a nice collected canter to start the two-loop serpentines. So again, the judges will just note that that change was a little bit early, a little bit before the centre line.
Completing his test there for Great Britain, competing as an individual young rider, Richard Coney with Mermis Or Diamond, the 9-year-old by Mermis Or out of the Irish Sport Horse Dam Pendle Watercolour. Our second competitor this morning. So the overnight leaderboard in the individual standing sees Therese Wiklund and Visera for Sweden leading the way on 27.4 penalties. Flora Harris is in second on the same score at 27.4 penalties. And if there is a equality in the classification, it's decided in favour of the athlete with the best overall impression of athlete and horse mark in the dressage test, which is the dividing line between Therese Wiklund and Flora Harris at the top of the leaderboard. Tim Price individually on Spartaco, the 8-year-old, is in third place, and on his team horse Bango is in fourth, scoring 29.1 with Spartaco and 29.4 with Bango. In fifth place for Team Netherlands, Elaine Penn and Blue Nile on 29.9 penalties. Alex Hua Chan, an individual for China, and Ballbreaker SD in sixth place on 30.1 penalties, with Ariana Guidarelli and EHC Biscuit for Italy in seventh place on 30.3 penalties. In eighth place, Victoria Karlebach and Zlatan, team rider for Sweden, on 30.7 penalties. Ninth, World Equestrian Games team gold medalist Tom McCune and CHF Coolizer on 30.8 penalties. And in 10th place, Giovanni Ugolotti, team rider for Italy with Noteworthy, on 31 penalties. Sarah Ennis and BLM Diamond Deluxe, the leading Irish rider, in 11th place, competing individually with BLM Diamond Deluxe on 31.5 penalties. Swedish rider Sofia Soberg has a big entry in this class. It's the third time we have seen her. This time she goes with Waldo. A correction, this in fact is Emma Hislop-Webb is the next competitor for Great Britain, going with Waldo as an individual rider. A combination we saw at competing at badminton, Barocca d'Alva this season. So Emma Hislop-Webb for Great Britain with Waldo.
This is a seasoned campaigner. I think he's got many 4 stars under his belt.
Yes, a 16-year-old. KWPN Grey Gelding. And Emma had a horse in this yesterday as well. And she was a former leadership sales executive in business, and then she decided to go to eventing full-time and rode her first 4-star in Pau in France in 2015, which is now at 5-star level, of course.
And she had a good run in badminton this year on this horse. So here she's going into the shoulder in, which will then follow into the medium trot. The shoulder in sets the horses up, makes them sit behind, which complements going into the medium trot. And this comes up quite quick, from the extended trot up forwards into medium walk. There's quite a lot of down gear changes before we get to the walk from the extended trot, so the judges will be looking for how the horses are listening, that they're not resisting, and they go forwards nicely into the contact.
And as we take up the second day of dressage here, looking back at some of the issues that arose yesterday, one of the points that you highlighted, Michelle, was the importance of the transitions.
Yes, there's so many transitions that aren't on the marking sheet that you need to do in the arena to prepare the horse for each movement. The judges will be keeping a close eye. The preparation is key for all of the movements. And for the rider, just to be that little bit ahead of the horse for the next movement. You'll see it really clearly with the professional riders and how they prepare for it. So they look for the horse to go forwards into the half pirouette to keep moving without the back legs crossing. I think Waldo's looking for the cross country.
Yes, as we pointed out yesterday, and those who were watching yesterday, over to the left there is the Tin Gin fence, because that's the cross country track just behind the arena. So certainly one or two horses were looking at that yesterday.
This guy knows his job at 16.
Absolutely.
He settles nicely into the extended canter.
So as always in these dressage tests, I know many of our viewers are very experienced, but there are a lot of other people watching who like to enjoy the sport, and sometimes dressage is something of a mystery tour to them, but the scales of training are what they're going to be looking at in terms of the rhythm, the suppleness, the contact, the impulsion, the straightness and the collection, Michelle. Yep. You've got to be ticking those boxes all the way through.
It's, the training scale is something the judges will always be looking for. When you can't do one without the other.
Emma Hislop-Webb, individual rider for Great Britain, completing her test there with Waldo. Our third combination this morning in the first session of dressage on day 2 of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup. Leg 4 of 7 in the FEI Eventing Nations Cup, coming here from the Semmelys Camphire International Horse Trials near Cappoquin in County Waterford in Ireland. That's in the southeast of Ireland. And this morning we are blessed with sunshine, light breeze, and almost perfect conditions for the dressage phase for these riders. It's great to see this record entry here at the Camphire International Horse Trials, which was founded by our honorary president Van de Votter and Susan Dobbs, the late Susan Dobbs, who owned Camphire House. And one of Susan's prime objectives was to provide a venue where young riders and horses could gain experience and qualification, and that certainly has been the case over nearly 20 years between national and international events here at Camphire, culminating this year in the FEI Nations Cup coming here. This is the lady we mentioned earlier. It's Sophia Soberg with DHI Mighty Dwight. This is the third horse that Sophia's had in here. Sophia competing for Sweden, but a rider at the age of 21 who is fortunate enough to be trained by Michael Young. This particular 14-year-old that she's riding today competed in the Nations Cup class in Stragom, also saw it out in Arville in Belgium, and it also competed in the CCI 3-star short format in Renswoode in the dressage phase before being withdrawn from the cross country. A medalist at underage level, Sophia Soberg, coming into the arena now with DHI Mighty Dwight competing as an individual for Sweden.
This horse has been her European championship horse. I think she had this horse at Mill Street in 2017. It's probably one of her more experienced horses. Sophie's gone into the shoulder in. The judges are looking for the shoulders to just come off the track. The horse is up a little bend, and then up into the medium trot to the short diagonal.
Yes, it's on that team that were 4th in Mill Street and then went on the following year to Fontainebleau, team bronze, and individually 5th, which is a very good performance.
Yeah, very consistent performance. Sometimes can be the most heartbreaking position to finish in, just outside the medals, but it's a huge achievement. Not easily done. Sophia knows this ring inside out now on the third ride.
Yes, and she's also experienced a variety of conditions for riding in it as well, so she's fully versant with it. Though here on Wednesday, when the horses were allowed in for the arena familiarisation, they were all just walking around quite calm and
relaxed,
because there's a lot going on with, as we see there, the flags, and the other side of that is the show jumping arena, and then when we return to the long shot on the other side, we'll see it sweeps down to the River Blackwater, and we've got dressage arenas either side, as we saw from that fantastic aerial shot in our opening sequence here. And then we've Camphire House, and then we've the cross-country track. You see the fences there in the background going around. But they all seemed happy enough and just took to the arena quite quietly.
The judges will be looking for a little bit more contact in the extended walk from this horse. But he's staying very relaxed, and she made a very good start to her test. The trot work was really smooth and should score well. They have to perform a 2-loop serpentine between A and X, so it's not a whole lot of room, and it requires quite a lot of balance from the horse to go into the counter, and then they must finish the serpentine, straighten up, and then come across the short diagonal. And you'll see the good riders, they'll really use the 4 corners of the arena because they actually help you to set up. They give you that, if you can get into them, they give you that little bit more length of time to get to the first marker. So the second loop is the trickier loop. So we're asking the horse to canter in counter, which is technically on the wrong leg. And she straightened up nicely for her flying change, and it was pretty on the centre line.
We've seen horses of varying height here in terms of the balance required, right from Hugo Lachey's horse and Sarah Dowley's, which were up at 177, 178. And the other horse that Sophie rode was 153 as well as this horse, so it's quite a range. So completing her test, that's her third test in this class. Sophia Soberg and DHI Mighty Dwight for Sweden, our 4th competitor this morning. Richard Coney and Mermasor Diamonds for Great Britain. The score in for them, they scored 67.43%, 32.6 penalties. Currently in joint 14th position in the individual standings, so that's a very good score for
It's a solid
young
start.
rider Richard Coney.
Yep. It was a smooth test all round. He will be very happy.
So Richard was the first rider in this morning. The other rider was Enda O'Gorman, and he scored 58.06%, a revision score of 41.9 penalties, in 44th position at the moment.
Marisa Ronan has completed the Super Jumbo. Next to go in that league will be Claire Abbott for Ireland and Jordan.
So David Dole is our next competitor, competing on this horse as an individual. This is the 15-year-old Mr. Hi-Ho, KWPN Gelding. This combination went very well at the CCI 4-star short format in Renswoude in the Netherlands, taking 6th place there. They also were 13th in the short format 4-star at Belton in Great Britain. Last year they were 2nd in the CIC 3-star in Ballindennis here in Ireland. They also competed here in Camphire, taking 16th place in the CIC 3-star. David was on the British team that competed in the Eventing Nations Cup at Stragom with ESI FEI, along with Emma Hobday, Ben Hobday and James Somerville. That team placed 2nd. They were on the podium there. He's a former under-21 national champion. So a very nice picture there coming past Camphire House in the sunshine with River Blackwater in the background as we welcome in our next competitor competing as an individual for Great Britain. It's David Dole with Mr. Hi-Ho.
This horse has been a former ride of Oliver Townend and Emily King. Been through many good hands. This horse is keeping a nice outline and a nice rhythm. You can see a nice difference from the collected trot up into the extended. You can really see him using his shoulder.
So again, as always, when we're talking about rhythm here, we're talking about the correct rhythm, the pure walk, the pure trot and the pure canter, because it's sometimes confused with the tempo, which is the rate of repetition of the rhythm.
This horse is starting to show a nice progression into the extended walk. See, he's stretching the neck down. He's in a good rhythm and he's relaxed. The judges are looking for the overtrack from behind for true extended walk. They'll look then at the transition back up into a medium walk They look for the horse to shorten his stride and to stay relaxed, which is probably the most important. This horse has shown really nice 2 even loops, and unfortunately just a little bit late behind in the change. Slight anticipation from the horse. It's a very fine line riding up into the flying change.
And as we were saying yesterday, spectators' eyes are automatically drawn to the front legs. But
Yep.
You've got to look at the
It comes from
overall
behind.
picture. You've got to look for the engagement behind all the action. The judges are looking at the overall picture, everything that's going on there.
So there, David just made sure he'd done a little bit of extra preparation and recovered nicely with the second change.
We welcome from Ireland, Emily Cosgrove, with Tom Ross, number 36.
So completing his test there, individually competing for Great Britain, it's David Dole. He goes Mr. Hi-Ho, 15-year-old by San Remo out of Samura. This one owned by Patricia Mason, completing their test. And heading out of the arena with Camphire House there in the background in the shot. It was built on the site here. There's the Norman Castle ruins behind that house. You can't quite see there, but this house built in 1843, designed by Belfast architect Sir Charles Lanyon, who at that stage had recently completed the Palm House for the Botanic Gardens in Belfast. And the Camphire estate was purchased by the Dobbs family in 1902. And the late Susan Dobbs sadly passed away in February 2009, left the estate to her great nephew Henry Wilkes, and the Wilkes and Brown families. Neighbouring farms have combined in a superb cooperation to facilitate the running of the very popular Camphire International Horse Rides. We were saying this yesterday, Michelle, that this is an event the riders really love coming to.
Yes, they do. They really put on a great show here at Camphire. They really look after the ground. They have a nice setting for the dressage, and the show jumping has a really great arena. Their hospitality is top class, and it's just an all-round friendly event. And it shows in their support from the riders.
So another individual rider coming into shot here for Sweden. Sweden to the fore in the team competition. Their chef de keep, Fredrik Bergenhoff, must be very happy after the dressage yesterday. Competing here as an individual for Sweden, it's Ludwig Sennerstal. He goes with the 15-year-old Belgian warmblood gelding El Kazir. Combination last year we saw in Hartbury. Also competed in Tattersalls and Wiesbaden. Third last year in the CCI 3-star in Tattersalls. So competing as an individual rider for Sweden, it's Ludwig Sennerstal, and he goes with El Kazir SP.
I think Ludwig will be aiming to hit the top spots in the dressage here. He put in a solid performance, being first in yesterday. Ludwig is just going into the second half pass. We look for the horse to change its flexion and bend first before we go into the second half pass. This horse is showing a really lovely advanced outline and quite an impressive medium trot. It should wow the judges a little. And the judges are looking at a difference at this level on the dressage. They're looking for the horse to have a lot higher head carriage. They're looking for the horse to really work from behind and up, as opposed to a novice test with a novice horse.
And at this level, you've really got to present the horse, you've got to catch their attention, you've got to say, I'm here to get the big marks and ride it very professionally. And we saw that in the final session yesterday, so it's become very competitive now in this class. So they do have the advantage this morning of having a look at the scores yesterday. They know what they have to do, whereas Ludwig was first in yesterday as the pathfinder in a different situation altogether.
Again, we're into the extended walk. We're looking for the horse to stretch its frame, but not on a loose rein. It's extension, so the judges are looking for the horse and rider to stay connected. And just not wanting that tension to creep in. That was nicely presented from Ludwig.
So just completing their test in the Blarney Castle 2-star in the Conclusing and Clon Ross Razmataz. The next event in that arena will be Emily Moffat for Great Britain, who rides number 13, Corinthian Cleanser.
And that was a nice polished flying change. Ludwig really going to show off the horse's expressive canter. And showing that it's extremely adjustable to come back into the collection very easy.
That was smooth, wasn't
Really
it?
smooth,
and
yeah.
that's what you're looking for in those transitions, for it to be just smooth and effortless and
Yep.
continue on to the next movement.
So this horse is really settling into the canter work. The straightness is really important here to prepare for the change. And again, it was very accurately on the centre line. See Ludwig go for a big finish too in the big extension.
I think this is the score we're going to be looking out for.
Yep, I think he brought his marks back up in the canter work again. The walk might have been a little tense, but I think overall the judges will be quite impressed.
So finishing there, that was Ludwig Sennerstal with El Kazir SP, competing as an individual rider for Sweden. This 15-year-old Capriano out of Catella, owned by Jane Clark. So pat on the neck there for El Kazir SP. Always nice to see the riders rewarding their horses, because it's all about partnership. There's two athletes in there at all times. You have the horse and the rider, and when they work together, the results can be very good indeed. So our side shot there showing the beautiful vista that is the Camphire International Horse Trials here near Cappoquin in County Waterford. And as we mentioned, we will be broadcasting the cross country on FEI TV at 2:40 BST tomorrow. Don't miss it. If you're in and around the area or anywhere near Cappoquin, do come and view the action live. We'll also have show jumping on Sunday. That's been broadcast at 1 o'clock here on FEI TV, British time, and it's a fantastic venue, well worth visiting. A lovely part of Ireland. We have Cappoquin, we have Lismore, we have Linearstown, all part of Ireland's ancient East. A very picturesque setting indeed for this FEI Eventing Nations Cup event. So the penultimate combination before the coffee break this morning, coming into shot now, an individual rider for Great Britain. This is Flora Harris. She goes with Vardag's Saratoga, an 8-year-old Irish sport horse mare. This one competed in Tattersalls, taking 13th place in the CCI 3-star long format this year. And also we saw them in the CCI 3-star short format in Belton. Flora hails from the West Country in England, and she was a competitor in badminton in 2018. So for Great Britain individually, this is Flora Harris. She goes with Vardag's Saratoga.
Flora's come with two very different horses. One really experienced horse for the team, and now one of our up-and-coming young talents, an 8-year-old.
Yes, this 8-year-old by Summerat Saratoga, the thoroughbred out of the dam, the Irish sport horse Heather Cool, and owned by Yisha Vardag and bred by Kevin Barry. And one of a number of 8-year-olds we've seen in this class.
Yep. I can see why riders bring their young horses here. The courses here are beautifully built to bring a young horse around, but when you want to be competitive, then the time is tight and competitive. But to introduce a young horse to this level, this is an event a lot of riders will prefer.
Yeah, it's a top class team with
Yep.
Paul Brady designing and Mike Edrington Smith, Olympic course designer, coming in as consultant as well. It adds up to a
Yep.
top class team with a top class result.
And Flora just shown a lovely half pass and a real clear difference in the changeover, and also she's one of the few riders to re-straighten up after the half pass to show the new bend into the new direction after. This horse is showing nice relaxation. It looks comfortable in the arena. Now we're looking for them to stretch down into the extended walk.
29.1. Suzanne Hagan for Ireland, 29.6. And Emily Cosgrove for Ireland, they take forward a penalty score of 35.9.
Again, it was very smooth throughout from the pirouette up into...
Well executed for
Yep.
an 8-year-old.
Very good. It's carrying a lovely advanced frame, and the balance is very good. It's So we look for Flora to straighten up to prepare for the change. Again, that was very smooth.
And when we talk about balance, balance is something that's absolutely vital for a rider. Not only here, this is just the first phase. You have to have a rider with balance in the dressage, the cross country, and the show jumping.
It's very, very important. And especially for the cross country, they definitely need to be able to balance up.
Exactly.
I think this horse will be chasing him amazing on the leaderboard. She's certainly going to give her a good run for her money anyway. We can just see her quarters swinging out a tiny bit. If we were being critical, the judges are looking for straightness when they open up into the extension.
Again, that goes back to those scales of training. Straightness is there. So completing our test there, Flora Harris with Vardag's Saratoga competing individually with the 8-year-old for Great Britain. Our penultimate combination for the coffee break this morning.
I'll just take black coffee, please.
Earlier we saw Sophia Soberg with DHI Mighty Dwight competing as an individual for Sweden, and that was a test that caught our eye, and it also caught the eye of the international ground jury here, scoring 72.5%, 27.5 penalties, into third position in the individual rankings behind our fellow countrywoman Therese Wickland Visera, who's on 27.4 penalties, ahead of Flora Harris, who is on the same score. But as we mentioned earlier, if there is an equality, the classification decided in favour of the athlete with the best overall impression of athlete and horse mark in the dressage test. So that is the dividing line at the top. But now we have two Swedes in the top three in the individual competition, and Sweden are leading in the team competition. It's all about Sweden here, Michelle, at the Camphire International Horse Trials at the moment.
It sure is. They really are starting off with a serious impression in the dressage. But every Swedish rider come in has really produced a solid test.
So Tim Price comes in now. We only counted 5 with top hats yesterday. He was one of them. Tim is currently in 4th place with the 8-year-old Spartago, in 5th place individually with the team horse Bango, and he now goes with the 8-year-old Senza Fine. This is Italian sport horse studbook mare that we saw competing out in the show jumping classes internationally. He ran them at Vejer della Frontera. This horse also was competed by Luisa Pali at the Le Lion d'Angers Championships with the 7-year-olds last year, by Nicola Dati as a 6-year-old in 2017. So for New Zealand, our final competitor before the coffee break, it's Tim Price with Senza Fine competing as an individual. So world number 1 rider Tim Price, showing why he is world number 1 rider, being 4th and 5th in the individual standings already, with 2 horses in here with another horse in the competition. Produced some lovely dressage yesterday.
Yeah, some really good work. I'm sure you expect nothing less of the world number 1, and I'm sure he's going to go all out again now to slot this horse in beside his, if not higher up. himself and Sophie are going to be busy on cross country day.
They
This
sure
class.
are. They sure are.
So now we're going into the shoulder in. Into balance up into the medium. The judges are looking for the accuracy to the marker. So the riders, a key thing is to just get back slightly before the marker. Is always the aim. And for the mediums and extensions to really show from each marker the best you can show off. The judges don't want to see you been preparing to come back out of the extension too early. They want to see it the whole way across the diagonal. Now we're looking for the horse to stretch out into the extended canter. Walk, sorry. And then you come across the short diagonal. It's quite a 90-degree turn, almost like a quarter pirouette. And some of the professional riders will semi-use that to prepare the horse for the half pirouette. And as you can see, Tim's given himself loads of room to finish the half pirouette, to give himself time to prepare for the canter transition. And then from A we commence the 2-loop serpentine up to X. So that's only half of the arena. So this horse actually did a true change, but changed back and then back into true canter again. So that will unfortunately bring his mark down for that movement. And after the extended canter we look to collect the canter again. So we're back in balance to prepare the 2 serpentines.
So our final competitor before the coffee break, world number 1, Tim Price from New Zealand. He sends a nice pat on the neck there. The 8-year-old completing as an individual here in this CCIO 4-star short format Nations Cup class, presented by our sponsor Caravilla Howe at the Semmel's Camphire International Horse Trials. Earlier we saw Swedish rider Ludwig Sennerstal, El Kazir SP. They scored 69.63%, provisional penalty score of 30.1 penalties, slotting them into 8th place. Again, more Swedish success here. They're really beginning to dominate this competition. And as we head into the coffee break, yesterday's leader, Teresa Wiklund and Visera, on 27.4 penalties, is still in the lead, ahead of Flora Harris on the same score, 27.5. There's only fractions in it now. Sofia Soberg, DHI Mighty Right, again for Sweden, in 3rd place. World number 1, Tim Price, with the 8-year-old Spartago currently in 4th. and with the team horse Bango in 5th on 29.1 and 29.4 respectively. Team rider Elaine Penn and Blue Nile, that was a lovely dressage test she did yesterday for Team Netherlands in 6th place and 29.9 penalties. Individual rider Alex Hua Chan, Ballbreaker SD, in 7th place and 30.1, and now Ludwig Sennerstal for Sweden in 8th place on El Kazir SP. Ariana Guetarali for Italy, each EHC Biscuit currently in 9th, with another Swedish rider, Victoria Karlovac and Zlatan, in 10th place and 30.7 penalties. So that's the leaderboard, the individual leaderboard. We'll be seeing team riders from Sweden, Switzerland, Great Britain, Ireland, the Netherlands, Italy, New Zealand and Belgium all coming up after the break. Don't miss it. Do rejoin myself, Paul Nolan and Michelle Kenny. Will be back on air just around 9 minutes past the hour, 10 o'clock BST. Do join us then.
So just competing in the Blarney Castle, 2-star is Cathal Daniels and Full of Mischief. Next to go in that arena, we welcome Lara Heatherall for Ireland, and she rides number 41, the Raconteur. Well, as I said, just about to present their test in the 2-star is Heatherall and the Raconteur. Just a couple of earlier scores from that arena. Katie Rucker for Great Britain and Jury. They have a country score of 35.9. And Peter Dillon and Sultan Nordic Craver, they take forward a score of 43.5. Scoring from the Houghton Hall arena, that's of course the 4-star arena. The scoring from Lutic Senestal, the individual Swedish rider, and Elke Zia, and they take forward a score of 30.1. Do bear in mind this morning that his compatriot, Cecilia Goldberg, very good score, 27.5. Well, next to compete in the House of Waterford Crystal 3-star short competition will be number 215. This is for Ireland, Daniel Brown, who rides Living. Just a score in from that arena from an earlier competitor, from Michael McFadden, or from Gaffin, 41.7 is the country score he takes forward.
Copy that, yeah, back in place.
So, the 4-star arena, sponsored by Cathal Hall, getting underway, and this is the 4th rotation of the team competition for the Nations Cup. And we welcome the 4th of the Swedish team riders, Johan Lundin for Sweden, with Mind.
Good morning and welcome back to the Stemmedy's Camphire International Horse Trials for the 4th of 2nd legs of the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here near Cappoquin in County Waterford in Ireland. I'm Paul Nolan, joined by Irish international eventing rider Michelle Kenny to bring you a cover of the final section of the dressage, the 4th line riders. And coming into the arena, it's the 4th line rider for Sweden. This is Johan Lundin and Mind Me, 13-year-old Irish sport horse gelding. competing for Team Sweden. So Team Sweden, the current leaders in the team standings after the first 3 riders.
So we should see the tests hotting up now. The last line of riders coming in, they'll be really going for it.
Yes, we're taking up where we left off from the session yesterday with the third line riders, where we saw a big uptick in the scores and the quality of the tests being presented to the ground jury. Our ground jury this morning: President Sue Baxter at C. At H we've Jonah Hearn from Ireland, and at B Andrew Benny from New Zealand.
Next again in the Blarney Castle 2-star is Kim Gowan for Ireland, and she rides number 42, Californian Wolf.
Just see Johan's horse just lost a little bit of balance on the entry into the extended trot, but being a professional rider, he put him back in the right way and produced some nice steps.
We've had quite a variety of horses competing in this competition, and this horse, Mind Me, is a former pointer. So to bring this horse up to 4-star level for dressage, and now progressing to cross country and show jumping and competing on a Swedish team in the Nations Cup, it's quite a career for this horse.
It sure is. You should have no excuses on the cross country day anyway. Should be nice and zippy.
Oh yeah, we'd hope he'd make the time.
Yeah.
And it's a horse we're very familiar with because it was campaigned by Irish international rider Isa Power, and she was second with this horse in the CCI 3-star at Ballindennis in 2017.
I was afraid to say it, but I did recognise him. I wasn't 100%. So the flying changes wouldn't be the easiest movement for full thoroughbreds. It takes up a little bit of training. They're used to going in a straight line one way. They can sure extend. They've shown a really good transition back to the collected. With the 2 loops before X. Second loop is in counter. Again, just a little bit of an anticipation which left him late behind. What the judges are looking for is to come through from behind to the front end.
So salute there from Johan London, 4th line team rider for Sweden, with the 13-year-old Irish sport horse gelding Mind Me. This one by Saffron Walden, out of You Never Told Me, owned by the rider and bred by Mags Power, wife of the legendary Irish Army International rider Captain Con Power. I think it's quite some time since we've seen someone from Sweden competing in uniform here internationally in Ireland.
It sure is. Isa Power now following in her dad's footsteps of she's going to be jumping in the 5-star show in the RDS.
And very much so following her father's footsteps, because with Rock Barton he had won down in Ballinasloe in 1978 and she won the Grand Prix down there, and then she went with Dunavira 01 and won in Ballivor, and then went on and won again in Tats. So it's been a sensational season for her, both in terms of being a top class international event rider and also as a top class show jumper. And it's great to see that she and Jessica Burke, in a year where we're celebrating 100 years of ladies at the Royal Dublin Society, the two that get the individual slots are Isa Power and Jessica Burke.
That's very fitting. We also have a new junior European gold medalist is also a lady, in Kate Derwin.
Yes.
So it's a good year for the ladies.
Long may it continue.
Yep.
So that's the score we'll wait with interest. Johan London, the Swedes very much to the fore here. Fredrik Bergendorf there, chef to keep. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Now an important test coming up for Team Switzerland there, somewhat further behind and looking for a good score from Patricia Attinger. She's also riding an Irish sport horse, the 13-year-old Mooney Amok. Yes, won by the thoroughbred Cult Hero out of the Irish sport horse Dam Bing Power, owned and bred by Brian Maguire. This is a combination we saw in Pretoni, competing in the Nations Cup class there. So for Team Switzerland, it's Patricia Attinger. She goes with Mooney Amok.
This is originally a Wexford horse in the sunny southeast. It was produced by David Richards in County Wexford at the beginning of its career.
Competitive in the Browning Castle CCI 2-star long format. We welcome from Sweden. This is Kaya Mansby Svedberg, and she rides at number 44, Eldora Dublin.
And interestingly enough, I actually had the full sister, Hero Star.
So quite an Irish connection really with the first two horses coming in for these teams, and now competing here in Ireland in the Nations Cup.
Yep.
In such an important year for this competition, because it's been revolutionised by virtue of the fact that you've got this Olympic qualification. It's made it extremely competitive and big numbers of teams competing in every leg. Yeah,
it's well fielded, and to have 8 teams here is the best Ireland has ever had for a Nations Cup.
It's really good to see.
No better venue to host it. I think there'll be a lot of happy riders.
And from what we've seen in the dressage phase, it's going to be extremely competitive.
That is for sure. And the marks are very competitive, but they're also very tight, so a lot will change throughout the weekend.
Completing their test in the house, and the other two Crystal 3-star long format is Lucy Latta.
This horse is showing a nice length of frame in the extended walk, and the rider's keeping a nice contact is what the judges will be looking for. It's different to a free walk on a long rein. Again, it's hard to get that change into the short and medium walk. It's where the tension can creep up on some of the more excitable ones. The horse hollowed a little into the transition, but it was accurately ridden. So the judges will also take that into consideration. They were looking for the straightness up into the change and for to be accurate on the centre line and the horse to be fluent in its canter.
Brigitte Aetinger and Munia Mock for Switzerland. Their fourth line rider completing their test there in the FEI Eventing Nations Cup at the Semmelweis Camphire International Horse Trials. That's a score the Swiss will be awaiting with interest. Now, just before the break, for those who are watching, we saw world number one Tim Price and Senza Fine competing, and they scored 66.46%. A provisional score of 33.5 penalties, putting them in 24th place in the individual standings. Tim, of course, right at the top, along with Therese Wickland, Flora Harris, Sophia Soberg. He's in 4th and 5th with Spartaco and Bango. We also saw Flora Harris and Verdaga Saratoga competing as an individual. They scored 67.22%. 32.8 penalties, currently in 19th position in the individual standings.
So
the Union Jack designates the fourth line rider there for Team Great Britain. This is Rosa Onslow, 20 years of age. She goes with 12-year-old Irish Sport Horse Gelding IRE Limbo Kaiser. This is a horse you know very well,
Yes,
Michelle.
I do indeed.
It's 10th in the Young Horse International with Michelle only recently. This is an interesting rider because she's awarded an elite sports scholarship at Newcastle University to allow her to progress her eventing career, and here she is on a Nations Cup team at the age of 20 competing for Great Britain, so it's obviously impressed the chef de keep, Philip Searle, who's here in Camphire.
She's just back from the European Championships too, where she was an individual for Team GB. I think she had a top 15 finish.
So for Great Britain, it's their fourth line rider, it's Rosa Onslow. She goes with IRE Limbo Kaiser.
This is the horse I produced up until just the end of his 6-year-old year, before he went to his new rider Rosa. They've had a great career together so far.
And we were talking yesterday about the involvement of families in the equestrian world, and Rosa's mother Cindy eventing up to CCI 2-star level. So right across the different nations competing here, we've seen a number of riders who belong to very competitive sporting families.
Yes, that's for sure. And we can actually see Cindy just in front of us here. She'd never miss an event. She's always by Rosa's side, and it's also handy she's full of knowledge of the sport. So they're a great team.
And this is an interesting test to watch because they have a good track record. They were third individually in the Nations Cup class in Houghton Hall, completed on their dressage score there, which was sub 30, so that's not a bad performance.
Yeah, they've been growing from strength to strength. I think they were placed very well here last year in the short 3, or short 4-star now, should I say. And they've been going from strength to strength, and it was a really solid performance in Houghton, and again a very high class field.
Yeah, she was 6th last year here, as you say, in what was the CCI 3-star.
And again, she's producing some very competitive work so far. And they're a super speedy pair on the cross country. Again, Kaiser's showing a really nice lengthened frame into the extended walk. Again, accurately ridden on the centre line. It's a nice clean change across the centre line. Rosa kept up a nice rhythm in the canter. And you can really see a really clear difference from the extension back into the collection. And now back into the 2-loop serpentine, which is to be performed up to X, which is half of the arena. It's kind of nice change, a little bit before the centre line, but you can see Rosa has good use of her arena. Lovely square halt.
So completing our test there, Rosa Onslow, RLE Limbo Kaiser, 4th-line rider for Team Great Britain. Rosa 12th individually the European Young Riders, 6th in the CCI 3-star Camphire with RLE Limbo Kaiser last year. Strong pick there for Team Great Britain. RLE Limbo Kaiser, 12-year-old by the USA Thoroughbred Abdullah out of the Irish Sport Horse Dam on Colin Dunn, owned by Rosa's mother, Mrs. Cindy Onslow, and bred by Jane Scully. So that's a score we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for. So to date we've had 3 of the team riders after the coffee break here. Johan London for Sweden, Patricia Aitinger for Switzerland, and Rosa Onslow for Great Britain. And of course 15 teams will be going to the Tokyo Olympics. We know 10 of the 15, the host nation Japan, and from the World Equestrian Games last year, team gold medalist Great Britain, team silver medalist Ireland, team bronze medalist France, along with Germany, Australia, New Zealand. From Group C, Poland. From Group F and G, China and Thailand. 2 will qualify at the European Championships in Lumulin at the end of August, beginning of September, and 1 will also qualify from this FEI Eventing Nations Cup That's why it's so competitive here. Team Ireland silver medalists Ian Tryon, and a member of that winning team coming into shot now. It's Sam Watson going with the 13-year-old traditional Irish horse, Irish sport horse, Imperial Sky. 40 years after his father won an individual silver medal with Cambridge Brew in Lexington, Sam went to Tryon in North Carolina and won a team silver with Team Ireland. A fantastic achievement for the Watson family. So coming into the arena now, it is the fourth line rider for Team Ireland, Sam Watson and Imperial Sky.
It's an exciting one for the home nation. Lovely entrance into a very nice square halt, and the horse showed clear immobility and was very square.
Yes, competitive, winning the CCI 4-star long format in Ballindennis, second in the CCI 3-star short format in Kililkey near Mallow in County Cork. Only recently we've also seen them in Dunmullen in Tats, and they were second in the CCI 2-star in Camphire here in 2017, so they will be familiar with competing at Camphire.
And Imperial Sky always starts off with a solid dressage mark, so it puts them in a nice competitive position. This partnership is together quite a long time now, so it always helps. Getting into the shoulder in, looking for the shoulders just to come off the track, keeping the quarters on the track. Again, carrying a really nice advanced outline. You can see the horse is really elevating his shoulder into the extended trot. And what a difference the sunshine makes.
Well, it's so picturesque now with the green of Ireland and the grey horse and the beautiful scenery. This is Camphire at its very, very best.
And the Team Ireland are very look very smart in their equiline green tails.
Yes, something we've seen as well with the international dressage team recently competing out at the Nations Cup in Aachen for the first time as well.
It's a great achievement, and all ladies also.
Exactly. And all Olympians.
So now we look into the medium walk again. And into the second half pirouette. Looking for the horse's legs to continue to move without the back legs crossing. The all-important canter strike off. So from the walk up into canter, the judges really look for the connection into the contact, that the horse is straight and accepting. Lovely change on the centre line. Sam daring, nice and brave to show off the extended canter.
But you do have to go for it here because it's, as we were saying yesterday, it's so competitive. You've got to make an impression. You've got to get those marks.
Sam is going for this. It's nice and smooth. Now he needs to straighten back up before coming across the short diagonal for the change on the centre line. As you can see, he kept a very good rhythm. There wasn't a change in the canter, and that's what the judges are looking for. This horse looks to be very rideable in the ring.
So the fourth line rider for Team Ireland, World Equestrian Games silver medalist Sam Watson, completing there with the traditional Irish sport horse Imperial Sky, this one by Fuisance out of Skies of Blue, bred by Carolyn Lanigan O'Keefe, completing their test in the Semmelise Camphire International Horse Trials FEI Eventing Nations Cup. First time we've ever had the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here at Camphire in this CCIO 4-star short format class. And our presenting sponsors, Caravilla Howe, on a beautiful sunny Friday morning down by the banks of the River Blackwater with Camphire House in the background. Those beautiful trees lining the cross-country track. You can see the fences there that go around the arena. And Sam Watson looks quite pleased with that, Michelle.
Yep, I think Team Ireland will be quite pleased with that. I think it was mistake-free, and it was a really polished test. So I'm sure it will be up there with the top of the Irish tests anyway.
So Patricia Aitinger and Mooney Amok, they scored 66.18%, provisionally 33.8 penalties into 28th position at the moment for Switzerland. Johan London for Sweden and Mind Me scoring 67.64%, provisionally 32.4 penalties into 17th position. So Team Sweden going really well. They're still out in the lead, 89.6 penalties. They're setting the standard here. Tim Lips is the fourth line rider for Team Netherlands with Lacoste said. This 9-year-old grey mare. So for Team Netherlands it's Tim Lips with Lacoste Z. Combination we've seen in Samur, 6th in Straygom in the CCI 4-star short format. He's on the Dutch team that was second in the CICO 3-star Nation Cup at Le Pan O'Hara in 2018. Tim, no stranger to success, being a member of the Dutch team that won a bronze medal at the World Equestrian Games in 2014, and he's also an Olympian. So not a bad man to have on the plate as your fourth line rider.
It's a different type of pressure being the fourth line rider. Sometimes if all the team has gone well ahead of you, it can be a nice position to be in, but a lot of the time you can be relying on that fourth line rider to bring it home and take it for the team. This looks to be quite a tall horse also.
Yes, coming in at 168, 9-year-old by Lucky Boy out of Farah.
We've had a few Lucky Boy progeny in this.
This is a mare. Team Netherlands in 4th place overnight on the leaderboard on 103.6, just fractions ahead of Belgium and Ireland, who were both on 104, and Switzerland on 104.6. You can't get much closer than that.
No, and I think the cross country is really going to come into play with all those crucial time faults, and Camphire is always normally quick and competitive on the cross country here, so there will be a few shake-ups, I'm sure. It certainly won't be a dressage competition. So you can see we have so many different shapes and sizes. This horse is quite long in the back behind the saddle. Some people think it's good for jumping. All down to preference.
And it's also what makes the competition so interesting, because we have such a range of riders, from riders at 19 years of age. We'll have Sir Mark Todd coming in shortly, a man who's over 60, a legend, as you say. And we've had a horse of 20 years of age that won what is now a 5-star in Melbourne that was competing, and we've had a whole series of 8-year-olds, and we've had horses at 178 and others at 153.
Yep.
It's a huge variety of different riders and horses, which is great to see in a big class like this.
It sure is, and it's also horses for riders. Certain horses suit certain types of riders. So that is what brings the variety to the sport. It's a nice clean change. So just look for them to open up the canter and the extension and also the horse's frame before sitting back up into the collection to prepare for the 2-loop serpentine. And you'll see that the riders have the horse bent into the new direction. And the rider must really sit in balance to keep the counter, because the horses are also awaiting that flying change. That horse, excuse me, that lovely. I think this will be one of the more competitive tests for the Dutch team.
Completing his test there for the Netherlands, Tim Lips with Lacoste Z. So that's a score we will await with interest. See what score the Netherlands have recorded prior to the cross country. Don't forget cross country action on FEI television. Chris Ryan will be here to take you through the cross country action. And that starts at 2:40 BST tomorrow afternoon. Don't miss that, and Chris will also be along at 1 o'clock on Sunday for the show jumping. My co-commentator Michelle Kenny will be with you all weekend as well, and great to have someone of her experience, an Irish international rider, also knows competing at international level in show jumping. Former winner at Tats, went so well in Le Mullen, and was a member of the Irish team that was on the podium at Houghton Hall last year in the Eventing Nations Cup. So she will be with the FEI TV team all weekend here from the Semmelys Camphire International Horse Trials. Don't miss a moment of it. It'll all be on FEI television. Rosa Onslow and RLE Limbo Kaiser, their score provisionally 66.74%, 33.3 penalties, putting them in 25th position individually in this class. And by the time we've completed, we will have had 65 competitors. So a very large class indeed, and we have 3 left to go in the final session of Dressage for the fourth-line team members for Italy and Belgium, and the final team member for New Zealand. So some lovely shots of the warm-up arena, the flags of the competing nations. That's where the 10-minute is, as we see coming into our picture now. In uniform, as always, Vittoria Panazzon, no stranger to competing here in Ireland. Had a big success at the Tattersalls International Horse Trials in 2017. And the Italian national anthem rang out around the main arena at the Tattersalls International Horse Trials and Country Fair for her victory. She goes with the 10-year-old Supercilious. This combination were 11th in the CCI 4-star long format in Branham. Also saw them taking 7th place in the CCI 4-star short format in Belton. and competed in the Nations Cup class in Buccleuch last season, taking 13th place there. She wears the uniform of a corporal of the Italian Air Force at the Primo Averi rank, based in Gloucestershire.
See, all the Italians are flocking down to in front of our blocks in support.
Well, it's great to see so many team members here, because with every team member that's come in here, we've had so many different nationalities and great press coverage. We see Libby Law here from Eventing Live taking loads of photographs. So it's fantastic to see this huge international turnout at the Camphire International Horse Trials. So in a sun-drenched arena with the River Blackwater in the background as she passes Camphire House, coming into the arena now, the fourth line rider for Team Italy is Vittoria Panazzon, and she goes with Supercilious.
Victoria's produced many horses to this level and has been competitive on every one of them. Her famous little mare, Barrow Pennies.
Well, I have to say that the year she was at the Tattersalls International Horse Trials and Country Fair, she was a very impressive winner.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and she's done it on quite a big number of horses, so she's doing something very, very, very right. You can really see she prepared the changeover, which is something the judges really like, and then here they'll look for it to re-straighten after the three-quarter line, to straighten up into the new bend again to the left. And showing a really smooth shoulder in. I think that will wow the judges a little bit.
And that's what you need to do.
Yep.
You need to catch their eye.
So just a little bit of unbalance.
Well, that's what we were talking about yesterday, wasn't
Giving,
it? That
pushing
fine
it.
line, that
Yep.
fine line.
She
Pushing, pushing,
recovered.
pushing, and it's just momentary.
Yep.
So she recovered so well.
Yep. True professional. Victoria's just allowing the horse to stretch into the extended walk. Again, you can see that little jog just creeping in the majority of the horses, just in anticipation. But again, she's brought it back to it nice and relaxed and prepared it for the pirouette. Now up into the canter transition. So these two loops are a lot tighter than they even look on the screen. Especially the second one, it's in the counter. So the judges are really looking for the horse to bend around the rider's leg. The serpentine start at A and finish at X. This will be an important score for the Italian team.
So a smart salute from Vittoria Panazzon as she completes as the 4th line rider for Team Italy with Supercilious in the FEI Eventing Nations Cup here at the Semmel's Camphire International Horse Trials. And we'll await her scored interest, but we do have a score coming in for Team Ireland. Sam Watson with the traditional Irish horse Imperial Sky, 72.29%, provisionally 27.7 penalties, into 4th place. Can it get any better here, Michelle, at a sun-drenched Camphire International Horse Trials? Now we have an Irish rider in the top 4 individually. That's a fantastic performance by Sam Watson.
Yes, he really did show how cool he was going in there, and it was a very smooth test, and it really wowed the judges, and he's going to be very, very competitive on the next 2 days.
There's nothing in it there. The leader's on 27.4, second 27.4, third 27.5, and Sam Watson 27.7. With Tim Price, the world number 1, 29.1 and 29.4 in his 2 horses. And that is the top 6. Sweden having 2 in that top 6. British represented there, New Zealand with 2 and Ireland with 1. And speaking of New Zealand, it is the legend himself that is Sir Mark Todd. Michelle wasn't even thought of, but I remember him winning in 1980 at his big breakthrough, and so much more since then. 4 badmintons, 5 birdies, 2 Olympic individual goals. It's just an honour and a privilege to sit here and watch this man. It's the final team member for New Zealand, Sir Mark Todd with Leonidas.
It's amazing in his career he's even had time to have a break in eventing and come back and just slot back in at the top.
Because as you said, he's done pure show jumping as well. So
and eventing and taking a break in eventing. And when you're a competitive man like himself, it's not easy to retire, especially when you're still finding the sport pretty good at the top.
And he certainly is. This combination were 3rd in the CCI 3-star short format at Barbary Castle earlier this month. Also competed in the Nations Cup class at Le Pan-Ouaras in France last year, taking 9th place. 7th in the Olympic Games, and winners of Beckton in 2014. So they have been a consistent combination for some time. Now a 15-year-old.
So very important for the last team rider for New Zealand. They only have 3 on the team. So
exactly.
this
So
score's
this
got
is
to really
why
count.
we're waiting to see how this plays out in terms of the overall leaderboard, because they're shown all the time as 8th, but we know that they're far from 8th.
Yep, I think they're going to nicely
Tim
set up
Price,
into the
Janelle
podium
Price
area.
and Sir Mark Todd in your team. You're not going to be 8th, that's
No.
for sure.
And what a strong team to only have 3.
Unbelievable selection to be available to.
They'll still be super competitive with 1 man less than everyone else. No, that's for sure.
Welcome from Germany. Hi, Stefan Meyer. He rides at number 200. I think it was a vaccine.
It's very nicely done. It's great to see Mark bringing a horse like this to Ireland for the Nations Cup and showing he's bringing one of his most competitive animals with him. It's going to be great for the crowd on Cross Country Day. They're going to see some serious legends of the sport.
And to be fair to Sir Mark, he has been a good supporter of Irish events over many decades.
I think he likes the Irish hospitality.
Well, we hope more international riders do as well,
Yep.
and keep coming back to the great selection of international events you have, including some of these Camphire International Horse Trials right across Ireland. They're more than welcome. So the legend, that is Sir Mark Todd, completing his test there for New Zealand with Leonidas, the final team member for Team New Zealand, a score that we will definitely be keeping an eye on as we look at the team standings as we come to the conclusion of the dressage phase, with one team member left to compete in the Camphire International Horse Trials. Oh my goodness, there's been a tack malfunction right at the end of the right at the end of the test. Would you believe that? That's one for the photographers.
It sure is.
Well, if it was going to happen,
it was a good time after the
now,
test.
can he leave the arena on a long rain a day? Would you believe it? Just at the end of the test. Well, that would have been interesting that it happened during the test, not for Sir Mark, I'm sure.
Those fly veils are great, but
yeah, at least he can smile about it. There was a spectacular photograph of a horse recently where the bridle came down and the fly thing was in front of the eyes, and it jumped through the water fence even though it couldn't see where it was going, which is, horses just are so extraordinary. They really are. So there we have the team in, all quickly rectified for Sir Mark.
They're like a Formula 1 team. They were in super fast.
Well, this is what we were saying yesterday. The grooms had to battle inclement conditions, high winds and very wet, and they did it superbly. And the horses that came into the arena here over the last 2 days, Michelle, they were beautifully presented.
They
horses.
sure have. Immaculate.
And top marks to all of the teams and the hard-working grooms. And you can see there how quick and efficient and professional they all are. And all back together now. Sir Mark, the sixth person in a top hat. It's a lovely day for wearing a top hat today.
So we thought the top hats might come off, not the bridles. But I suppose it was the fly veil is what the horse was wearing. So sometimes they can just pop the bridle out over their ears.
Exactly.
And,
so that's what happened there.
It has happened to many riders. It's not a nice feeling.
And the next competitor having a word with him there going past is Lara de Liederkerkermaier at Alpage de Arville. As Michelle was saying yesterday, one of the most beautiful venues she's competed at, Arville.
Yes, it's a stunning venue, and it's like a yard, like a fairy tale. If you're ever lucky to see it, it's amazing.
And Lara, of course, is married to Kai Steffenmaier, 2 children. She has a master's degree in commerce at the Institute of Business Studies in Brussels. And with this horse, it's 5th in the CCI 4-star short format in Arville. Also competed in Le Moulin. So an important test coming up now for Lara de Liederkerkermaier and Alpaga d'Arville, 4th line rider for Team Belgium.
She's made a very good start, a lovely entrance into a solid square hold. Those little white socks on the horse really help add the extra wow in the dressage arena. You can see, again, with all the different horses, this is a warm blood horse. You can see a little bit of difference in their trots and their canters. They can have a little bit more wow factor sometimes over the Irish bred. Irish bred proven with Sam Watson today, it's well up there to compete with the warm bloods.
That's a lovely picture there as she goes across the arena in front of Camphire House, and many thanks to our producer Ty Ryan and the production crew. They had to deal with some very adverse conditions yesterday, but providing fantastic shots in the sunshine of Camphire at its very best here today.
I think the photographers will be a lot happier today from Equus Lakes.
It's
Get some
such
nice
a
shots.
spectacular venue for taking photographs of riders competing at this level in an Eventing Nations Cup that's so competitive, and having these beautiful surroundings, and they'll have so much more to photograph with the cross country and the show jumping as well.
Laura's just sitting a little attentively, keep this horse relax. And a lot of people have seen the horses are quite happy to stretch down. It's when the rider picks them back up into the medium. The horses are quite intelligent, they know the canter work is coming. They also know that the canter is out of the walk. They can have a little bit of anticipation.
And we're sitting here watching, but they know what they're feeling sitting on top of that horse. That's what we don't know.
And good riders like Lara are good at covering it. And keep showing the best. Lara was quite clever there in the walk. She did pick up the horse's frame, but didn't shorten it too much, so it didn't get too tense. And that's clever riding.
And you also have to be cool-headed.
Yeah.
It's the same with a jockey in a race. If they press the button too
The wrong
soon,
time,
the
yeah.
race is gone. And here, you've just got to sit and wait and hit the right button at the right time. It's easy to say, but it's a lot more difficult to do in that arena.
Again, you can see Lara using her arena, getting into those corners to prepare for the extended canter, and now you'll see her again sitting up, using the corner. It also helps the horse back up and then prepare for it's only like 10 meters there to get back up to A, so it's tight.
Completing our test there, Lara Delita Kirkamar with the homebred Alpage Darville, fourth line rider for Team Belgium completing. And Team Belgium here in force in front of our commentary box, watching that test with a lot of interest because all these scores matter. And we also have a score in now for the final line rider for Team Italy, Vittoria Panazzon and Supercilious. Judges scoring it at 68.89%. A provisional penalty score of 31.1 penalties in 13th position, just one behind her teammate Giovanni Ugolotti, and noteworthy in 12th on 69.03%, 31 penalties. We saw that test yesterday, so that's not a bad score for Team Italy. There were just one or two moments of anticipation in that test that may have cost her a couple of marks, but it's good enough at the moment to put Team Italy into third place on 93.4 penalties. We have the Swedes leading the way on 89.6. Great Britain in second place, 91.5. Italy at the moment, 93.4 in third. Don't bear in mind, we are waiting for some scores to come in for Belgium and for New Zealand. Ireland, following that good performance by Sam Watson, Imperial Sky, currently fourth in the individual standings, now in fourth place on 95.3. Netherlands, 98.2 in fifth currently. Belgium, we're waiting their final team member score to come in. They're on 104. Switzerland on 104.6, and we're waiting for the score to come in for Mark, Todd and Leonidas for New Zealand.
So we need Mark to pull in out of 20s, in the 20s test, to get New Zealand up into the podium places.
Yes, and he certainly performed a very credible test in the individual standings. Therese Wiklund leads the way on 27.4 penalties. She's just ahead of Flora Harris, who's on the same score. And as we mentioned previously, if there is an equality, the classification decided in favour of the athlete with the best overall impression of athlete and horse mark in the dressage test. That's the dividing line there for Therese Wiklund and Flora Harris for Great Britain. They're on 27.4 penalties. That lovely test we saw earlier, Sophia Soberg and DHI Mighty Dwight for Sweden in third place on 27.5 penalties. The home nation, they have a rider in the top four. It's Sam Watson, Imperial Sky, 27.7 penalties, with world number one Tim Price currently in fifth with Spartaco on 29.1 and sixth on Bango on 29.4. Elaine Penn and Blue Nile for the Netherlands in seventh place on 29.9, with Chinese individual rider Alex Hua Chan and ball breaker ST in 8th place on 30.1 penalties. Swedish rider Ludwig Svennerstal competing individually with Al Khazir SP in 9th place on 30.1 penalties, with Arianna Guidarelli and EH Biscuit for Italy currently in 10th place on 30.3 penalties. So that's the way it stands at the moment on the individual leaderboard. The spectacular shots of the Camphire International Horse Trials you can see there. They've already set up the scaffolding. They're working there on the right to the water fence where the production pictures will be coming through tomorrow. This is right out the back where we come in. Over to the right hand side is where the dressage arena is. So where we mentioned before, you have the cross country track coming there behind the dressage arenas. That's where they continue on out to. And if you are anywhere near Cappoquin in County Waterford over the next couple of days, this is the place to be. It's the equestrian mecca for the weekend for Ireland for sure. But one of the biggest international equestrian events ever to have taken place here, with an entry in the international division of over 300 horses. And we have the master class for the younger horses, the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds, and that brings it to a staggering 400 for our hard-working stable manager and FEI steward, no better man himself, Paddy Gately, to get it all sorted out. You'll see at the top of your picture all the horse lorries there in 2 fields with the stable blocks. We were commentating there in front of the middle arena, and these spectacular shots coming from our production team straight over the River Blackwater as we look back right across the Wilkes Farm and the Brown Farm that have joined together to produce this Semmel's Camphire International Horse Trials. The road at the front there leads down to the historic Camphire House, which is a spectacular backdrop for an event that is growing in stature in this southeast part of Ireland, Ireland's ancient east, in an area surrounded by Cappoquin, the beautiful Lismore, the spectacular Villierstown, all well worth visiting in and around this area. And it really is showcasing the equestrian sport that is eventing such a fantastic sport, and the nation that is Ireland, the home of the horse, recognised worldwide in so many disciplines and so much success over so many years. You won't see better pictures than this, and you won't see a more welcoming and friendly event than the Camphire International Horse Trials. So Michelle, your impressions of the dressage over the last couple of days? It really has been something fantastic to watch here. For us, it's a privilege to see it.
Yeah, it's been serious hot competition, and you would get any better anywhere else in Europe. For the Nations Cup teams, they've had very competitive scores, and for the individual riders, they're getting a real international flair of what's expected at a championship feel, and to have the likes of our world number one here, Tim Price, is amazing for Ireland, and the legend that is Mark Todd. We are extremely lucky to have them all here, and it's also great at the moment to see ladies on top of the scoreboard, so that's also another big positive. And for this whole event, it's a real special event for Ireland, and we are very appreciative to have it here. So no, it's been an exciting 2 days of dressage.
And it is very appropriate. All 3 podium places are held by ladies. As we were saying earlier, the biggest international equestrian event of the year, of course, is the Dublin Horse Show, the 5-star international featuring the iconic Aga Khan Nations Cup, part of the Longines Eventing Nations Cup series. We'll be seeing that on FEI television as well. But this year is 100 years of ladies competing, which they're recognising at the Dublin Horse Show. So ladies very much to the fore, and very much to the fore, I would say, in terms of the participation of ladies, and perhaps under-recognised in the past when you go back to the great ladies that have participated, going right back to the days of Iris Kellett winning the Ladies European Show Jumping Championships, and they've made a very significant contribution both in dressage, eventing and show jumping and other equestrian sports in Ireland.
Yeah, it's amazing at the moment. We've fielded our dressage team in Aachen. We had 3 lady riders there, and then going forward to the RDS, celebrating the 100 years, we have 2 ladies going forward. Jessica Burke and Isa Power, they were top of the leaderboard in our New Heights series, which is our bigger Grand Prix of 150 in Ireland. So those 2 girls have battled their way to the top, and then in eventing with the likes of today, look what we have at the top of the leaderboard at the moment is all ladies. So we're definitely a force to be reckoned with, and keeping the men on their toes.
And long may it last.
Yes, and we also are special mention to our junior European show jumping champion, Kate Derwin. She's also putting the ladies up on that map and keeping us there.
Yes, and she was 4th last year and had a very clear plan, along with Carol G and Fraser Duffy and Dennis Flanley, as to what they wanted to do, and it was all achieved with an Irish sport horse, which is really a fantastic. It's the icing on the cake.
It's fantastic
Rocky,
for Ireland.
AHG White Rock Cruise pulling that out of the bag, and Kate Derwin, also a member of the pony team that won the gold medal, was an individual silver medalist herself. There's such a strength and depth of talent there as well. And back-to-back wins for Ireland, with Jason Foley having won the individual medal the year before, which is really, it's an embarrassment of riches almost at that underage level. It's, and to be fair to those riders, it's extremely competitive.
Yep, and then Miss Sally Corscadden, she's been keeping our eventing young riders in the medals in the juniors, and then brought it up to our silver world medalists and individual silver medalists. So,
well, historic achievements, because the first team medal for Ireland in 52 years and the first individual medal at the World Championships in 40 years, achieved last year under the guidance of our high performance manager. So the legend that is Sir Mark Todd and Leonidas, they scored 71.46%, a provisional penalty score of 28.5 penalties. That slots them into 5th place at the moment. So we now do have a team score for New Zealand, and as we say, it's a team of 3. That normally doesn't sound great, but when your team of 3 is Tim Price, Janelle Price and Sir Mark Todd, it sounds a lot better. And they are in 4th place on 93.3 penalties. So Sweden leading the way on 89.6 penalties, Great Britain in 2nd, 91.5, Italy in 3rd, 92.4, New Zealand, as we were saying there, in 4th, 93.3, Ireland in 5th, 95.3, the Netherlands in 6th, 98.2, Belgium on 104, in 7th, and Switzerland on 104.6 in 8th place. So it's very tight. There's not a lot in that in terms of the overall scores. I mean, if you look at 89.6 down to 98.2, that's less than 10 penalties between the team that's in 1st and the team that's in 6th. And as you were saying, Michelle, and you should know, you're an international event rider, this is not going to be a dressage competition.
No, it sure isn't, and the cross country is very much going to come to the fore with the in short format. The time is normally always very competitive, so everyone will have to make a move to keep the places they're in, and they sure have to go if they want to move up. So it'll be really exciting, and being joined by Chris Ryan tomorrow, he's definitely going to keep it very exciting.
Yes, if you haven't heard of Chris and his commentary, I strongly recommend that you tune in for action from cross country tomorrow, 2:40 on FEI television, and he'll also be with you on Sunday at 1 o'clock, both BST, so don't forget to tune in for that. It's bound to be spectacular, it's bound to be thrilling. So from a very sunny Semmelise Camphire International Horse Trials here near Cappoquin in County Waterford, from Michelle Kenny, our Irish International Eventing rider, and myself, Paul Nolan, good morning from Ireland.